Hey guys, welcome to today's vlog. This is a new thing for Fullsteam, and for me, I thought I'd start doing this as I now appear to have a bit of downtime with the event season pretty much effectively cancelled up until, I'm hoping, August, September time. And really realising I hadn't actually ever communicated to a lot of the people that come to our events kind of what we're about and how long we've been around. So I've actually been organising events now since 2014, and a lot of the guys that come to our events have picked up all this along the way and have kind of got to know us, but there's a huge chunk of you out there who don't really know our story or my story. So this is probably a good chance for me to, as any, tell you guys all about it. So here we go. I mean, Fullsteam started, say, back in 2014. It actually started with Race Strong Triathlon Club. I was personal training and coaching, working out of LA Fitness and working at the time, and British Triathlon came to me and said, do you want to put on an event? And I'd had a history in events. I'd worked when I was at university, doing lots of entertainment stuff, working at the student union and kind of running that in part. So I had a bit of history. I'd gone from there to project management, and it was only having wanted to get out of an office job I'd then effectively gone back to sport, having really got into triathlon. So British Duathlon came along. They said, have you considered running an event? We'd like you to do something out of a Woking pool in the park. And I sort of said, yeah, I'm keen to get involved. It'd be a good sort of feeder for the club. Great to get people involved. So Jenny Vincent, who was the regional BTF, shout out to Jenny, she's awesome. She came along, introduced me to the leisure centre. We chatted through, and actually I should probably do a separate sort of thing about how to set up your first event. But effectively, we got that first event off the ground, really small. So we started off as a Go Try, which is a brilliant intro place, which was what we were all about, into triathlon. We started it off, and we went from there. And yeah, first event, 50 people signed up. We sold it out there, literally just 50. That was month 1. Month 2, I think we went 75. Month 3, we went 100. And it just built really rapidly. At the time, Go Try was getting a lot of push. BTF had really put a load of marketing and focus behind it, and we saw all these people come into the sport. So roll around, I think it was about, we started off that in the April, and I think in the September we had the first sprint. And then we had a sort of 200 person event. And that was the start then of Fullsteam. It kind of, what happened was the Go Tries ran through the club, and effectively I realised quite early on that there was going to be this divider between me spending all my time organising events and me wanting to do more events. So I spun off and I started Fullsteam, and Fullsteam was then my coaching arm for me personally, and it was going to be that vehicle for delivering the events. And then the Triathlon Club became a community club. Although I ran it still effectively just myself for a number of years before we formed really an effective committee and really got the club going. So from there, Fullsteam grew. We, again, working with Jenny, we opened up Paper Court Sailing Club that was down the road for open water swimming. That was the next project. Started doing aquathlons there, so that was the second venue. So we had a series of sort of 7 events at Woking, 5 Go Tries, 2 sprints, and then we added the aquathlons. From there, I started adding some running events. We did like French and Brewery, we did Windsor came along, we did that, and then yeah, it just started snowballed. And then Castle to Coast came along. So Castle to Coast, I mean, this is like flash forward now about 4 or 5 years. Castle to Coast started to develop out of, I got really pissed off with a load of other events. So there's a bit of a quandary where, and I wrote a blog post about this, I'll link down below, about what happens with athletes. We take them to an event, and we tell them that we're going to rank them on fastest from first to last, but we're going to do it in conditions that aren't designed for that. The roads are open, and there'd been a couple of conflicts that season. There'd been the horse incident at Windsor Triathlon, which some of my friends kind of got caught up behind. And then yeah, it was this sort of, why are we so obsessed about trying to get the fastest possible time in conditions that really don't suit it, and actually to do so affects safety. There'd been one incident on one of my events not long before that where a guy got into an argument with a motorcyclist, and the motorcyclist pushed him off. You know, like there's stuff like this happens all the time in events, and it happens probably because of the way we kind of structure things and we go about it. So things needed to change. And kind of, I had this idea that really what happens if we just take the competitive side out? Like, how many more people would actually be interested in doing an event if we took all that out? And we just made it all about the journey. So at that point, it has to be a pretty epic journey. So we kind of, London to Brighton was out there. There was a couple of others we looked at, kind of like coast to coast, kind of what can we do that was kind of along those lines. And I sat there and I thought about it. And effectively, it was then where you put a swim. So I looked at hunting for swim venues in London, but all of those were out of action. They weren't going to work. And yeah, effectively came back to Dorney. And I had a funny thing with Dorney. I'd raced Dorney so much over the years, I was kind of bored of it as a venue. But actually, we were only really going to swim there. And for that, it was perfect. It could handle the capacities we wanted to grow to. It could handle everything. So we got talking to Dorney. Dorney were on board. The route to Brighton kind of really found itself. I'd started with Brighton as a bit of a destination. I'd looked at Portsmouth, I'd looked at a couple of others, but Brighton is Brighton. It is like that perfect end destination. Talked to the council there. Council pretty much told us where to finish. So that kind of solved that one. And then actually when they suggested where we went, it lined up pretty perfectly from Hassocks with that kind of trail run, more or less the whole way down there, skirting the edge of Brighton. And it worked pretty much perfectly for the bike coming through the Surrey Hills. So it just kind of magically lined up in that regard for the course. So yeah, I mean, that was kind of how it came about. And it was really about that kind of, what happens if we put an event out there that's non-competitive, that just takes everything we want an event to be without being kind of just like that. You can do it with your mates, you can take your time, it doesn't matter how fast your transitions are. At the end of it, it's over a 70.3, it's a stonking great distance. It takes an event from being a morning race to almost a full day. You can finish down in Brighton, you don't have to start stupidly early, and it just kind of ticked all those boxes for us. So yeah, flash forward, I brought in a team of people who know those bike courses in that part of the world, who I know, and the various people who were going to manage all the stages. We built the team, we got the suppliers, and kind of everything came together. And then we ran all the way through, we were ready to go, storms hit. Bugger. What hadn't we thought about? Adverse weather in August. Same weekend as Boardmasters cancelled, they went first. Safety teams were looking at it, and luckily our safety teams who were particularly working on the bike course, had worked with events that had the same sort of problem, and they were just telling us early on it's a no-go. They've had events where people have died because of it. You get swept under a lorry on your bike, or it's just the winds are too strong, or trees come down and it starts really messing with your route, and quickly things get out of control. There was a whole number of factors. We looked at what happens if you put a Portaloo on top of Ditchling Beacon and it blows away. Can we fix it down? Suppliers couldn't tell us what the wind loading of a Portaloo was, but we knew it probably wasn't going to work where we had it put. So you start stripping things out, and you get to a point where you go, do you know what, this just isn't an event. We've pretty much, the finish line down was almost going to be two people and a bit of tape at one point. It really just becomes pointless. So that was that. Luckily we were insured for adverse weather, so we then had to go through a process. Phone the insurer. Insurer starts to process the claim, and this is before we've told all of you guys, because we can't tell you guys until the insurer have agreed. And the worst bit was, effectively, from the moment we went to the insurer, there was effectively like a radio blackout. We weren't allowed to say anything to you for about 48 hours. So everyone was sending in, going, hey guys, what's going on this weekend? What's going on this weekend? What's going on this weekend? Can't say a thing. All we can say is we're looking at it. So, there was a bit where we could tell people starting to get a bit touchy with us. It's just sort of sitting there and going, oh... But you just got to keep going and keep waiting. Insurer came back and said, we don't think the winds are going to be that bad. And we went back and we said, look, take a look at the whole course, And they went through again, and they came back and they said, all right, yeah, we accept it. And that was the point we then went to you and said, it's off, everyone gets their refund via the insurer. Happy days. We start planning for the next year, okay? In the meantime, numbers grow, which is fantastic. More and more people find out about the event, more and more people sign up. So we spend the next 12 months readjusting all the plans, adjusting for more numbers, getting everything ready. We roll round, and it is now, where are we? Don't even know what the day is. It is May the 15th. So yesterday was the day I pulled the plug. Rolled around to this week, and this weekend has been an absolute roller coaster. But culminated yesterday with we pulled the plug on Castle to Coast again, this time because of coronavirus. Now, the event is set to happen in July, and we've got a decent chunk of time between now and then, and things may change, but the reality is for us to just go into it now, we'd have to start ramping up our planning just without the certainty. And effectively what we would do is we would keep throwing money at the event and keep spending and keep spending and keep spending, at which point, if we can't go ahead, there's no money left for us or you. So this is the point where we can effectively stop. We know from you guys being awesome through the athlete survey that actually only about 20% of you want the refund. So that meant we could trust, and there's a big leap of trust, that we trust you guys as the athletes. We offer that refund to those who want it. 80% of you come with us next year, and we've got the funds to carry on and do it. And we can then deliver the event next year, third time lucky, nothing gets in the way, and it's awesome. So that's where we got to. But I mean, what a week. I mean, so Boris made his announcement last Sunday night, 7 o'clock, kept us waiting, and then told us pretty much nothing. So we had to wait till the Monday, Tuesday, start getting the guidance documents. We knew stuff was going to start to pan out. We'd start to get whispers that events might come back in July, so we started to look at that. But yeah, it just wasn't there. Then on the flip side, the good news was open water's coming back. So what can we do with open water? Again, what events might be able to go ahead and in what format? We start looking at that. But it's just such a roller coaster. Yeah, so this week currently we've now rescheduled, postponed 4 events from the last 2 days. We've got another series we need to look at, and I'm working through at the moment as to what happens with our midweek super series. We had 1 event scheduled for July, 1 August, 1 September. At the moment, I think August and September can probably go ahead. So it's just July we're going to lose, and hopefully those athletes again will stick with us and move into those August and September events. But that's Eton Dorney midweek closed roads. I think what will happen is the event will become an individual time trial. So we will effectively have to start everyone off individually. You'll have your own individual almost swim, your bike and your run, and we'll have to look at how we get those degrees of separation. But until the guidance comes out of British Triathlon about return for sport, just don't know what it's going to look like. So that's going to again make things interesting. We're going to effectively almost have to replan events to try and get stuff through. Swim Solstice we've moved, so that was originally due to take place June. We'd kept holding on because I thought open water swimming would come back. But again, it's just not going to work. We had a night swim kind of planned, which actually daylight hours kind of work around. That was at the end of the season, so we've taken that night swim out and we're going to move Swim Solstice to there. And funnily enough, it's just by pure chance that is effectively the equinox between the 2 solstices, so it means we can effectively become Swim Equinox for this year. Again, so far most people haven't requested a refund, they've gone with us, which is fantastic. We'll go through, we'll do that Swim Equinox. So that's a brilliant team swimming event. So that's the only thing, is whether we can, how we structure that team kind of structure. But between now and September, I think a lot's going to change. I mean, so much has changed since we did our last event on the 14th of March. So much. It's hard to believe that was only 2 months ago, pretty much to the day. But we did Fortitude for the first time, which is a cracking new 10-hour ultra. That was, first event went brilliantly, and then a week later we went into lockdown and the whole season fell apart. But in the meantime, we've got May 31st, we've got our first lockdown duathlon happening. So that will be stage 1, you go out and run. Stage 2 is either a Swift ride meetup, or again you go out on your bike. The Swift kind of meetup race is going to be where it's at. And then third stage, you go and you do your other run, and again all your times are recorded and reported back to us, and we do it as a virtual event. Series of 4 events, literally just like a 5 race, or you can pay £20 and get your t-shirt. So again, it's all stuff for us. It doesn't really pay the bills, but it's a way to keep going with you guys, keep everybody going, and just hopefully bring in enough that we can get going. We've got more kit coming in, we've got more t-shirts coming in. They're looking awesome. They're coming in from a new supplier in Thailand who's working with us. And he's done a great job so far. I'm really excited to get those in the next week. Some more kit. Nutrition's been really picking up recently, so that's really good for us. Started off, it was a bit of a slow burn. You get started with these things, you make a lot of mistakes in terms of how we do things. Really hard to sell 37 terms to people when they don't really have a chance to try it. So everything's now gone single serving and is flying out much faster. So if you haven't tried that yet, get on board. We've got 3 different products there I'll talk about at a different time, and I'll link down below so you can read about them in the short term. So I mean, just what a roller coaster of a week. I sit here absolutely stunned by this week. We have been on highs and lows of government guidance that look really positive, stuff in the detail that looked much more tricky. We thought open water wasn't going to be able to restart, and then open water could restart. Then we've been going around our venues desperately trying to work out how we're going to make the season work and how we're going to be able to facilitate you guys coming and swimming, which means suddenly building booking systems, how do we get, and then virtual events, everyone seems to be really keen, so then suddenly that's a big plus, it gives us something we can do. To cancelling events, all of a sudden on a massive low again, having to go through that process. Then you guys were awesome, and we had this amazing feedback on how we'd handled it. It's great. The stresses of how we financially managed this whole time. And then, again, massive highs, kit comes in, it looks awesome, you guys are keen. So it's just a total roller coaster. I've been, stalk the forums online and kind of see how people are talking about the situation at the moment, and you guys generally on the whole have been awesome as athletes, talking about how race directors are really struggling and how you're going to be supportive. And some people, they need the refund, and you can kind of understand. Some races can do it, some can't, and that's just kind of the nature of it. There's varying discussions about the sort of legal positions, and we get really mixed advice as organisers as to whether you have to offer refunds or not. I've had governing bodies tell me you don't. I've had people tell me I'm a lawyer and you do. It's basically comes down to the fact that it's largely untested, and reality is if the organisers haven't got the cash and everyone goes for a refund, they'll just go bust. In many ways it's better they survive, go to next year. I think a lot of consumer law just wasn't built for a world in which everything stops for 6 to 9 months. It just wasn't designed for businesses having to suddenly furlough all their staff or cope, and government support's been here or there. We've had some, but we've not had a lot. Sole director, you don't get much, so it's kind of how it works. But I think that's enough for today about race directing. That's a whole different topic. The amount of people I've seen on forums still keen to get into race directing has quite amazed me at this time. But there'll probably be some openings next year for some new races. I think that's probably true. I am going to finish my pre-workout. I am going to go and finish up my training session. I have now got strength. Nice little run session this morning with some intervals. I might throw the footage up of that. Nice little 5k run up and down past Thorpe Lakes, which I'm hoping is again going to open for swimming shortly. And that will be it for this week, and this will be my first vlog done. Hopefully you've learned something about us, and I will keep going. This is weird talking to a camera, despite someone that does race briefings in front of hundreds of people all the time. It's quite nervous talking to an inanimate object. So yeah, perfect. See you soon.